Welcome to the Citizen Mike Show. Thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it. My name is Mike Brodinski. Somewhere on that split screen is Christopher K. Shortell. Chris, I want to talk to you about the future of the parking lot in back of the old train station. Let's call it the Brothers parking lot. I noticed you were at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting where they considered a special permit for that parking lot. It passed with a divided vote, 4-1. And that just means that the parking lot or the reconstructed parking lot is moving forward, and probably it'll be in your hands to approve a grant, maybe before the end of the year. Is that your thinking on the schedule of things?
That's my thinking. I caught the tail end. I was at the meeting for a different item, but I did catch the tail end of that discussion. And the town engineer made a comment. They expected to hear about the grant in the next month, if not sooner.
Yeah. So when I put myself in the position of, let's say, the man in the parking lot, the man in the street reads the Record Journal sort of casually, and you give him a choice. And you say, would you rather have the parking lot we see there or a reconstructed spiffy new parking lot? Of course, they're going to say, oh, I'd like to see the brand new parking lot. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let's have a brand new parking lot. So it sells. But if you ask a slightly different question, and if you say to the man in the parking lot, well, let's suppose you represent the town and you have all the options in the world. Every choice is open to you. What do you think the best use of that parking lot is? If you phrase the issue that way, I think you might get a variety of answers. Again, it's a timely question because this is coming up, before the council in a couple of months. And you guys are going to be, in a way, making that decision, although you're kind of like the man in the parking lot given a take it or leave it. Would you rather have an upgraded parking lot or no parking lot? But you've been in favor of an upgraded parking lot, a reconstructed parking lot for a while. Just why?
Well, for me, it was kind of hedging our bets. So I think Tim Ryan, our development director, put it best, where making it a parking lot, I think, leaves it open for future redevelopment if someone else wants to buy it down the road. I know you don't think that's true. But I also feel like the man on the street, your man in the parking lot, to use your comparison, you know what else they heard in the last 15 years or so? We had two referenda in Wallingford over basically parking lots. And I believe one of the things that was out there, whether it was fair or not fair, was, oh, it's all uptown. No one cares about downtown. Oh, you guys just, Wood and Kaplan and Simpson Court. Well, this is downtown. Finally, we're going to do something downtown. So I think that it's a win-win. So yeah, I am for it.
Okay, I want to just go back and so you can walk me through the logical steps that you believe are probable that would make this parking lot worthwhile and make it the highest and best use. So a parking lot goes in. So what? It's been there. Parking lot's been there for a long time. Parking lot's been there for how many years? I mean, ever since I've been paying attention, it's been there. So it's not like we need the parking because the parking lot's been largely unused. But so I'm trying to get you to tell me what you see in your crystal ball. Why does this?
Well, I think, yeah, you're right. There was a parking lot there. It was a smaller parking lot because there was a building where Brothers was there. And when they were open, they had customers in the parking lot. So it's not like there was an empty parking lot there. There wasn't. There was a restaurant there that had customers. And then there was the town owns parking spaces by the railroad tracks. I think this goes back to the issue of developers wanting or making it easier for developers to assemble parcels to qualify for tax incentives to redevelop.
You better explain that. I mean, they can.
There are incentives out there. If you're a developer, you get a tax break basically if you buy parcels in that district, that transit-oriented downtown center district. I'm probably not naming it correctly, but the parcel has to be a certain size to qualify. So you may go in there and but there's a building with a vacuum repair shop and a barber shop, I think, in one building. You may buy that building from whoever owns it, and you may say, I want to develop that. I'm going to put something else in there, but you wouldn't qualify because that parcel isn't big enough. And what we've been hearing for years is that developers don't want to. It's hard for them to have to negotiate with that buyer over that building, and then the person that owns the liquor store, that building, and then the person that owns Brothers, that building, and then the town that owns part of it. So I think in my crystal ball, I think by virtue of the town now owning a bigger chunk of that square, that to me opens the door in the future that, okay, a developer could come in and look and know that, I know what you're going to say, is the town actively marketing the property? No, they're not marketing, they're building a parking lot. But my point is developers know who owns what. I think we are in a better position today, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, for a developer who does come in and negotiate with the barber shop or the vacuum company, repair person building, and the pizza place or the liquor store. Then they only have one other party to deal with, and that's the town. They could say, hey, could we buy this off you? We want to put this new mixed use development in this ideal location. So that's why I like it. And in the meantime, we get to have something that looks a lot better than what we have today, which looks horrible. And I think it'll be a huge improvement for the town. That's my logic.
Nothing else? There's no more to it?
Well, I don't. Well, I mean, I don't know what. I guess. What else does the man on the street want to put in that? Are you saying do nothing?
You've never asked. And no one's ever asked what the man on the street used to do. Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. The case you made for the parking lot sort of suggests that, well, the door is open. It's sort of the door is open theory. So we can have a parking, let me finish now. So we can have a parking lot that is barely used 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, and the door is open and go from 10 to 12 to 15 to 20 years and nothing changes, but the door has remained open. So open to what? And then you give me a false choice and you say, well, they can't aggregate properties unless they have that parking lot available. I don't know what the source is for that. I don't know what doctrine you adhere to. I mean, I don't get that. It's totally illogical to me. If someone wants to go in and aggregate 5 properties, very difficult, if not impossible to do. I don't think that's at all foreseeable. They do it. The existence of the parking lot is irrelevant to that. Now you could try to make it relevant, I suppose, on a stretch and say, they're not going to want to do it unless there's a parking lot there. I guess that's your assumption. Yeah?
No, you're twisting my words.
Good.
No, my point is not that the existence of the parking lot doesn't make it easier for a developer to assemble properties. What makes it easier, that's not what I said. What I said was that the fact that you have fewer buyers, or I should say sellers, that the developer has to deal with. The developer only has to deal with what, 3 instead of 4 or 5, whatever. Well, I guess it was 4 before. That makes it easier. That was my point.
Well, I think that again, because I don't understand that. Why do they have to deal with the town?
Because if they want to develop that land and we own half of it or a big chunk.
I'm not talking about the package store. I'm not talking about the sew and back. I'm talking about all the surrounding properties on Hall and Quinnipiac and those areas.
Oh, okay. Well,
those two little properties are inconsequential.
Well, okay. Well, hold on. That's a point that I didn't even bring up. I actually, that's why I was going to interrupt. I think the parking lot would help those other areas. But my point was simply that if you want to develop that prime real estate behind the train station, and all you have, then you do have to approach the town because you want to buy what the town has. Plus, you're going to buy from the other owners, and there's fewer owners now than there were before. And also, there's not a vacant restaurant that has to be demoed that may have environmental issues with the demo. Whenever you demo a building, you don't know what you're going to find. We've done all that, so I do think it's easier in the future, today and in the future, for someone to buy that from us.
Let me try to cut to the quick here. So we redevelop that parking lot. What can you tell me will happen in 10 years? That wouldn't happen otherwise.
You have what you want, and you want an Eastern Mountain Sports in the bottom floor.
No, I'm serious. What will happen in 10 years that wouldn't happen otherwise if we reconstruct that parking lot?
We will get 10 years of a parking lot that looks we'll get three things. 10 years of a much nicer piece of land than what's there now. Number 2, we will get that may, in and of itself, that may lead to other businesses around there. It may help. It has to help them. And number three, some developer may look at that and want to buy all of it, especially if something happens with the old train station.
They want to buy the land with a parking lot on it. Is that what you're?
They would convert it from a parking lot.
I just want to get your best case scenario. A developer is going to look at there and say,
Well,
there's a parking lot, I want to buy it,
Yeah,
right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they buy it, plus they buy it, they buy the package store, they buy the vacuum place, they buy all of it. That's my point.
So let me shift just a little bit and try to get on firmer logical grounds than we've been on so far. This is an article that appeared in Forbes a few years back. I'm not going to read all of it. But it says, well, actually, before I start that, let me just digress for a minute. I think parking lots are sort of the standard conventional wisdom fallback position for a lot of municipalities, a lot of cities. If you don't know what to do with land, make it a parking lot. I think it's just sort of, it's what we do. If there's a business nearby, let's put a parking lot in there, whether or not we need it. I would remind anyone who's listening here that the town and Mayor Dickinson has a pretty lousy record when it comes to this kind of development. I mean, we start with the Wooding property. I think that was bought in 1993. I mean, I have no idea what was, and I don't want to relitigate that, but I mean, look what's happened. Was that successful? We have the American Legion building. That was bought. The mayor claimed he wanted to expand town hall, and that ended in sort of some controversy, and the mayor didn't get his way. The Simpson Court parking lot, that's still under consideration, but the mayor didn't have a successful track record in sort of keeping that. Let me just finish, because keeping that going, and all the parking lots up and down Center Street are in pretty bad shape by acclamation. Well, we painted lines and we have some signs. So with that background, now let me just read this article from Forbes, and then I'll get back to you. I know you're frustrated with me here. Parking lots, this is one man's opinion here, but it got into Forbes and it's thoughtful. Parking lots are, with only a handful of exceptions, the best possible way of destroying a city's soul. They're gruesome, lifeless places, and I'm constantly astonished by the way in which governments and developers are convinced that they're a great idea. Instead, local government should act as a brake on private developers' desires to build out new parking. While that might or might not be good for an individual commercial operation, it can be, at the same time, can be bad for the city as a whole. He goes into some examples. Parking lots and strip malls are both ideals of a car culture and suburban ideal that never actually panned out. As more people opt for a denser, more walkable urban experience, these will become relics of a different economy. You were busting at the seams there, so what do you got?
Well, I mean, two of your examples, I'm going to take issue with. That is the mayor. It's not the mayor's fault that a vocal minority overturned two of those by referendum. So the mayor didn't fail. What happened was you had a vocal minority in both cases who spread misinformation, and it's the only electoral success they've ever had against him in 35 years of those two referenda. That's what those were. You're to be Wooding Kaplan and Simpson Court. And I said at the time, and I stand by this, I was in favor of the plans for both of those. And one of my arguments, this is before I was involved in this stuff locally, politically, was that, yeah, this is going to get overturned and it's going to look like crap for the next 30 years. And that's exactly what happened. So I reject those two examples. The American Legion building, you were on the council for that. I defer to you on the American Legion building. And I can't remember the other example you gave. What, Chernobyl? What else did you blame the mayor for? I can't remember what else you blamed him for.
I think, so let's get back to the point.
Okay.
The notion that choices were not considered, I think, is a serious point. If you take sort of the strong arm tactics, it's going to be a parking lot or it's going to stay the way it is sort of a high-handed, heavy-handed way of doing it. And it's a decision in search of a rationale. And the rationale that the town has come up with is your rationale. Pretty thin.
It's
The rationale, let me finish. The rationale is, I'm not talking about the two properties in the parking lot. I'm talking about the surrounding properties. that border Quinnipiac, Hall, South Colony, those properties. The rationale is no one is going to buy those properties, or it's going to be difficult to have a developer come in unless this is parking maintained for their benefit. That's the rationale, and it's very, it depends on a house of cards, and no one may come in anyway. I mean, we were investing in a parking lot for their benefit that no one uses for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and nothing happens. And that's the risk. You waste the opportunity of using this land for something else, and you have parking that isn't needed, waiting for basically a miracle. So I'm going to just label it, it's the miracle theory, but
that's not my, I did not say that. So that, and I'm not
describing your position as that.
That's not my position. My position is about the parcel itself. You're talking, and I'm not denying that the town might be using that argument you're saying, that it's going to help these surrounding properties on Quinnipiac and Hall. I did not say that. I mean, I think it might. My issue, and I think we have to give the viewers context to say there was never a choice. There was absolutely a choice. The town council voted to purchase this, I think 2 years ago this month. It was the fall of 2018, if I'm not mistaken. So to say there wasn't a choice, well, I know.
No, you're way off track. And I just want to get back into it. I'm not talking about the little teeny postage stamp size property that brother sat on. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about that and all the other land the town owns.
Right. But I guess, and what would you do with it? So I guess my question is, should we have not bought the little teeny?
No, we should have bought it. I think that was a good deal. I think you should have bought it.
Okay, then what should we have done with it? What should we do with it?
Well, I think as long as you ask, so far you're the only one who has asked, and I appreciate the question. I mean, my views are well known. I don't believe in the miracle theory that the town believes in, that we buy it, a miracle will happen, and property, big developments will pop up. I don't believe in that. So that's not my favorite choice. If I am told that as long as Mayor Dickinson is in office for another 10 years, nothing is going to happen, I'd say, all right, I guess you got me. You got me. I guess I'll take the upgraded parking lot. And there goes a good opportunity for the town. But if it's done the right way, options would be considered. Many folks, or a few folks at least now sitting on the town council, think that the larger parcel, I'm not talking about the postage stamp size land that Brothers was on, the entire land that Wallingford owns back there. Some people have said, let's put it on the market and see what development opportunities come from that. Something may happen. If you don't get an offer that you're not happy with, you don't do it. I think, but this is way outside the box, which means it's really not a Wallingford idea, because Wallingford is really confined to the boxes that a really great park, and I think a splash pad is an economic development play. Parks attract business and customers and foot traffic more than a building does if it's done right. Now, you rolled your eyes. Tell me why. You mocked my idea of a park.
I did mock it.
No, you did. You mocked my idea. So tell me why you mocked my idea. A gorgeous park with flowers that anyone who drives into town sees it. Anyone who drives around town enjoys it. It has benefits for everyone who visits the downtown. It's an economic development play.
There are 22 parks in Wallingford today, including, I did some research. The only research I did for the show tonight, there are 6 parks. There are 6 parks within an average of an 8-minute walk and a 2.5-minute drive of that parking lot. You don't need another park. I would rather frack that land than put a park there. And I hope that gets on Facebook. Please blast that everywhere. I would rather frack.
We're going to get fracking down. So we got fracking. We got
put that in your summary that you email out, and do a sound effect. We talk about the sound effects that we have now.
All right. Let me change the subject. So obviously it's going to be a parking lot, and
can I clarify one thing?
Yeah.
Because I'm worried that that no one, you didn't. When I'm talking about that in 10 years someone could buy it, I am referring to both the parcel, the Brothers parcel, and the larger parcel. You realize that? Like, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Got it.
I just want to make sure.
I understood it that way too.
The whole thing. Okay.
Yeah, no, I understood it that way.
Okay.
And my rejoinder, then we'll move on, is if you really want to sell it now. You know, if that's what if that's your ultimate goal is to market the property, do it now. Don't put a parking lot in.
I don't,
Do it
can I,
now.
can I respond to that? Because I think that the problem, I think I'm going to go back to your earlier examples that you cited with Wood and Kaplan, especially, where I think that I don't think that there was any desire to purchase the property without a specific plan, which was building a parking lot, because I don't think the mayor would have done it if it was to become to flip it and turn around and now try to sell it after what he went through with that referendum. What if we get an offer that's less than what we paid to demo the restaurant? And I don't think that was ever, I don't think that was ever really going to be an option. And I can't blame him. So,
The old railroad station, what do you want to do?
I want any brew pub, another brewery.
Let me rephrase the question. If you're a representative of the town and you had all the options available to you, what would you do with the old railroad station?
Well, this came up on the Citizen Mike show. I think the second show that I hosted in your absence.
I want to see if you've grown since then.
If I've grown, I thought we agreed on this. I would first of all, I would very thoughtfully and carefully work with the Board of Education to find them a location that works for them, because I know that they run the adult ed program down there, I think, and they get a lot of it's.
Yeah, let's follow the tape. We're going to take care of Salmenzo. We're going to do that. But
well, that's the first step. We can't do it. Yeah, I'd want to lease it. I don't know that I want to sell it, but I want to lease it, and I don't know what if a restaurant could go in there. I know in Old Saybrook they put a pizza place in their old train station. I'm not saying a pizza place here, but I mean these buildings are cool. They can be converted.
What's the point of leasing? To what benefit? Why do you want to lease it? Is it for the money?
Lease versus versus just outright selling it?
No, just leave it the way it is. Leave it for the Board of Education. Are you saying this is?
No, I want to put something there that's an attraction that will bring people to that
park. And a park won't.
No, not when there's 22 parks already.
Okay, just checking. I'm just checking.
4 minutes average walk.
Just checking. So a pizza restaurant that has business basically for dinner, and after.
Or a bar or a brewery, or I don't know.
Okay.
I'm open-minded, but some kind of business, some kind of,
I'm still confused why, but we'll wait for another show.
What are you confused about?
Well, I'm confused as to whether this is an effort to get more tax dollars in.
No, it's to put something nice in an area that doesn't really have a lot of nice things.
Is it aesthetics that
you're draw people? It's who wouldn't want that? And then if you draw people, maybe somebody else opens up, I don't know, a candy store or an ice cream shop on one of those adjoining streets.
Yeah.
I can't be, they're not going to do it now. So I don't,
I guess in reviewing, this whole parking lot issue and to some extent, the old railroad station building is part of this. What strikes me is the lack of an overall reason and rationale for why we're doing what we're doing, and it infiltrates the zoning decisions and everything else. It's sort of, well, we're putting in a parking lot because that's what we do. We're going to sell the old train station or lease it. Sorry, because that's what we do. But I began to wonder, well, what's the reason for that? And I guess you've told me you want a restaurant in there for the sake of a restaurant. But when I go back to the zoning regs and they say, well, we got to have retail on the first floor, I even began to question that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a conventional wisdom we have trouble breaking out of. So we need parking, which we really don't. We need to do something with the train station. I'm not sure we really do. We need retail on the ground floor everywhere in the downtown when we really don't. I'm just getting, I guess, a little fatigued with the conventional wisdom that hasn't changed a thing in Wallingford in 30 years. The needle has not moved. Everything looks the same. The only real difference is the good trees are ripped out and little scrawny trees were put in. Other than that, all these ideas and have led to nowhere. And then sort of a bold, different idea comes in, you say, oh, no, that doesn't work. And of course, I'm talking about my high-end park, which people living in apartments next door would love that, like Central Park, in New York City, they just love that.
I could have sworn, and these are on YouTube, when Ralph was co-host, you and Ralph all talked about a steakhouse in the old train station.
Yeah, we did.
You've changed on that. You've evolved, to quote President Obama.
Well, I'm a vegan now. That's why.
No, I think that, first of all, let's give the viewers, let's just step back from it. Nothing, as of today, there is nothing happening with the old train station. Citizen Mike asked my opinion, and he knows how I feel about it. And there was a reference to this in the POCD, I think, too, our favorite document. So it's in there. So it's not just my opinion. There is a reference in there about figuring out what. So there is true that there is thought about it, but that's where that comes from. And I'm just going to go back to you're not wrong when you talk about things don't change. You know what else doesn't change though? Again, all I heard during those 2 referendums was, oh, everything's uptown. No one cares about downtown. And here we are now. And you're shooting down 2 great things for downtown.
Well, I'm not. You're shooting him down. You're shooting him down. You won't allow, or your administration will not allow a choice. I'm suggesting, let me finish now.
Okay.
I'm suggesting a high-end park, which is more of an attraction, 24 hours than a restaurant that's basically does business from 6 to 10:30. So I very much want to do something with a lower downtown, much bolder, much braver. It'll have a much greater impact, totally within our control, and not depending on the goodwill and of some developer coming in. So I want to take down the cemetery wall, spend money on that. I want to put in a high-end park. I would like to see anything on the ground floor. It doesn't have to be retail, because I think that's a dream from 20 years ago, that you got to generate foot traffic. It doesn't work anymore. So you got to go to a plan B, but I think Wallingford is still stuck 20 years ago. We got to have parking, because that's going to support the surrounding businesses. Oh my God, I've heard it for 20 years. It doesn't get you anywhere. I don't see anything that has changed. Time to get on a new track and go. And I get impatient. I don't want to wait another 10, 15 years for something to happen. So there you go. I want to change the subject though, but you're not letting me.
Coal mine. I would put a coal mine before I would put a park there. Not even fracking, like a dirty coal mine.
So how is this parking lot going to be paid for?
I think via 3 different sources of money: a grant that they are applying for, which we talked about, that we haven't heard yet. Secondly, there is leftover money from the bonding. We bonded you have the amount, 600,000 or 650 to purchase and demo Brothers. I think there's some leftover money there, which we're going to talk about. And then there was money set aside in cap and non from, I think, the 2014 budget that's been sitting there for 6 years. So I think somewhere those 3, that's how we're going to pay for it. Some combination. Yeah.
So I want to refer back, and what we're getting around here, dear viewers, is a 2 examples of a blatant charter violation that probably we wouldn't stumble across it, but for this issue, this parking lot issue, the charter violation, willful and intentional and everything else, wouldn't have come to the surface. Based on a letter dated August 11, 2020 from the mayor from the town engineer to the mayor, there's a representation that the construction would cost about $290,000. The town applied for a grant for $128,000. We think we're going to get news on that grant, Chris, soon, I think.
Yeah.
But that leaves a gap in pricing. And then the letter goes on to say there's $165,000 previously allocated for this project through the capital non-recurring fund. Well, the problem comes that $165,000 shouldn't be there. That was appropriated way back in 2014. Not a penny of it has been touched. So by operation of charter, that money should disappear and go back into the cap and non-recurring fund for the town council to reallocate it. It doesn't stay on the books forever, but yet that seems like what's happening. It just stays on the books in violation of the charter, in violation of the ordinance. By now, the mayor and the council has been tipped off about this. I just want to know your thoughts about that 165,000.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it started actually about 6 months ago, April, whenever, 5 months ago, whatever that was, when we went through the budget workshops, and we went through the reports and all these projects, including the one we were talking about now. We went through with the public works and the comptroller, and trying to see, okay, there were a lot of things that were, many of it was partially spent, and so, or much of it was partially spent, and what that led to was sort of a recognition on the part of the council that we don't really have visibility into some of the dollars that are out there. But to your point, I'm getting off a little bit off topic. I think my take is that the charter seems clear that I think it's a 3-year window. You allocate money in cap and non, you have 3 years to spend it. There is some disagreement about, if you spend some of it, does that buy you perpetuity?
Let's take that off the table, because
Right,
not
that's not what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah.
I would just add, actually, I know why I lost my train of thought there. I know why I brought up the other thing. We had that led to a proposal that I brought forward to the ordinance committee in September, or in August, actually, or July, but basically to amend the ordinance for cap and non to get better reporting on dollar amounts. And in that discussion, it was September, I think our September 3rd meeting, this all came up. All these different older accounts, and ironically, I think it was Attorney Small who and Jim Bowes kind of got into a little bit of a disagreement, because Attorney Small's reading of the charter is similar to your reading, and Jim was kind of disputing it a little bit. We didn't get too far down the rabbit hole that night, because that really wasn't the point. But I thought so yeah, I think it's out there, and I think will continue to be out there, because we're going to look at this ordinance on November 10th. But
yeah, I just want to button one thing up. I'm just afraid that someone listening to your comments may feel that it's a matter of interpretation, and it's not. Under either interpretation, this money was appropriated in 2014, and not a dime of it has been spent up till now. So
Right.
in any interpretation, the charter commands that this money be unavailable without further vote of the council. So the
Yeah.
question now, Chris, comes, supposing in a month or so, the parking lot comes to the council to appropriate the grant money, and the representation is this will be sufficient, together with the money, the 165 in cap and non-recurring, the grant and the lapse money is enough to finish the parking lot. No further approval from the council is needed. You see a charter violation, what do you do?
You only have so many choices. We can raise it. I can raise it. Any one of the counselors can raise the issue. We could pass a resolution. And the resolution could be something to the effect of, we, the council, approve of the mayor, we re-up this authorization because it's outdated. Unfortunately, that has no legal, this means nothing. It's rhetorical, because if we're following the charter, the mayor has to come to us outside of budget season. So I guess in theory, we could vote down the project and say, no, this project, you don't have the money to do this without coming to us for an authorization. I will tell you, I'm not voting down the project. For the same reason, in April, I'll go back to my earlier reference, when we were walking through these amounts, and we found there was like $400,000 from 2016 for road paving that hadn't been spent. And I didn't vote against, I didn't raise an issue with that, because I was told that they were going to spend that down. My point is, though, I don't know what our options are beyond said.
So
Vote no out of protest, pass a resolution, hire a lawyer. I don't know, what are we supposed to do?
just add another problem with this. In preparing for the show, I look in the section of the capital non-recurring account that dates back to when the brothers' property was purchased.
Mhm.
And we see that after the purchase price was paid and after the demolition costs were paid, and so that was wrapped up, that aspect of it was wrapped up, there was $136,000 left in the capital and non-recurring fund. That was the remnants of the bonding ordinance that you guys passed. So you bonded it for 600 plus, you spent down on buying the property and the demolition, but there's 136,000 left over. That should have lapsed also. That's also a charter violation. So we have two charter violations clear. I mean, this is crystal clear that 136,000 and the 165,000 should have lapsed into the capital non-recurring fund for further action by the council. It also occurs to me this is never going to happen, and a passive council is going to sit back and maybe just let it go for one reason or another, just not raise the issue. Now, from the perspective of a taxpayer, what does it matter? So there's a charter violation. So maybe there's more than one. So there's two. I mean, does anyone care about any of this? Well, here's one practical reason why I may care. These funds, whether it's the capital non-recurring fund, the general fund, even the Board of Ed 2% fund, they can act like a money sponge. And when those funds sop up money, it's awfully hard to wring them out, as we've seen. The charter says you got to wring that money out after 3 years if it hasn't been touched, but it hasn't been, the sponge hasn't been wrung. So this costs taxpayers money. And I'm just concerned that a council is just going to let it go, charter violation staring them in the face. I don't see anyone doing anything. And I'm reaching out to you here, and the viewers say, okay, what do we, what happens? Do we throw our hands? I mean,
well, I think we are doing something, and I'm going to go back to this. Or let me get into this ordinance, but let me start before I do that with, I think that your point. I think the charter was first written in the 60s when we went to the early 60s. We went to this form of government, and we've got a lot of talk in the news lately about originalism and what was the intent, with these Supreme Court hearings. And I think the intent of the charter language, again, not having really researched it, just my reading of it, is that the founding or the people that wrote it in the 60s did not want projects lingering, because that, again, like you said, it becomes a bank account, and it also becomes kind of a crutch or an excuse where, I can't fund this project, I have all these other projects, but not if they're not being done, but it gives the illusion of all these other projects. I think in theory, that's why the language is like that, so that it forces after 3 years. I don't think we're just standing by. The ordinance revision, an ordinance is different from the charter. But there's an ordinance about cap and non, but the revision that we're going to have a public hearing on November 10th mandates that the comptroller report twice a year, by November 30th and by April 1, the amount of closed out projects in cap and non, and it's going to mandate the aggregate amount of leftover money in cap and non, because there's, of all the closed out projects dating back to 1960. Well, who cares? What does that do that we're talking about? Well, because these are the types of things that will get ferreted out as part of that reporting, as part of that process. So I do think we are looking at it. Now, are we gonna have a dramatic moment where we stop this parking lot that you hate over this? Probably not. For the same reason that I didn't stand up in April when we saw some stuff. So no, I mean, I don't think over the parking lot, but I don't think it's fair to say we aren't doing anything. We are looking at it, and I think we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. And I go back to what I said before. At the end of the day, I want to hear the other side. I know you're saying there's no two sides to this. Well, there must be another side to explain why they think they don't have to do it. I don't know, but we will force that discussion.
Okay, you're going to force the discussion.
Well, force is about. It is going to happen. It's already happened, and it already started to happen on September 3rd, when we had our corporation counsel correct the comptroller and say, no, I don't read the charter the way you read. And that was over the accounts that actually have money spent down.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's even a whole other part of the discussion we're not getting into right here. So I think the discussion it's already started. Now, I don't know what the outcome will be, and I don't know what our options are, but
All right, let me, before I move on to another segment of this cap and non and charter violations, um, my view is sort of the longer this goes on unaddressed, the more it appears that no one cares. Now, in the case of this money left over from bonding that should have been released, maybe people don't know. Maybe the counselors don't know. They get the financial reports, but that's pretty dense. And I got to say, you don't always focus on every single page and grab the significance of it. But once the issue is raised and nothing is done and time goes on, you're given an appearance that no one really cares about abuse of power, charter violations, ordinance violations, money sponges, sucking up more money and holding on to them, just poor management. And the council can always retreat to the role that it's not our job. We don't have the authority. We don't have the power. So we look the other way, go along to get along, just let it go. That's what I'm afraid. That has happened in the last 6 months. That has happened. I just don't want to see, another 6 months go by. If there's a charter violation and it's clear, there's no debate about it. There's no debate. Someone's got to call it out. And, to solve a problem, you got to identify the problem. And sometimes to identify the problem, you got to take someone by the lapels and shake them a little bit. Don't you understand? Don't you understand that this money hasn't been touched in a long time, or the project is completed and the money should be released? Don't you understand that? And if they say no, they shouldn't be mayor. And if the councilors don't care, they shouldn't be on the council. You get the final word, then I'm going to drift a little bit.
we'll see what happens.
All right. There's another problem with the capital non-recurring fund. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because it's somewhat technical, but the capital non-recurring fund is controlled by statute and by ordinance and by charter. So there are 3 bodies of law. And the combined body of law makes it pretty clear that the capital non-recurring fund, which is for large-scale projects, are supposed to be for large-scale projects which are specific, not for town-wide programs. Yet the mayor, year after year after year, puts money in the capital non-recurring fund for programs rather than projects, which is a violation of statute, ordinance, and charter. The council goes along with it, and a good example is a town-wide paving program. There's not a project there. The project would be, we're going to repave a certain street from a certain corner to a certain corner. That would be a project. But a town-wide paving program violates the ordinance, violates the charter, and violates state statute. I just hope at some point that gets addressed. That can be addressed at the next budget meeting when the mayor puts forth programs rather than projects, and the council can say no. We're going to use it for another reason or tighten it up. Your thoughts on that, and then we'll close the show.
We can't even get the list of we can't get the list of roads that are going to be paved.
You should be able to.
I'm just telling you, it was asked. I think Councilor Fishbein asked, and we were told we could go to the town public works or town engineer's office and get it if we wanted it. And I think the reason, I don't know who told me this. Someone told me, I don't remember who. I think I asked this my first or second year in the council. Why don't we publish the list of roads? Well, because if we don't get to all of them, it just looks bad or something like that. And I was like, really? Like, okay, I don't understand. So you're going all. I mean, I'd just be happy with the roads. You want square feet from the corner to this. I don't even.
Don't mock my position. Don't marginalize it. No, don't marginalize. I want the town to follow the law.
You want to follow the law.
That's all I ask.
I understand.
And I take it seriously.
We know.
And I don't. Yeah, I begin to wonder now. What's up for next week? What do we want to do?
I don't want to do anything next week. I don't want to. I don't know. I don't know. We have
coming up on the council. Any changes in how you're going to conduct meetings?
Yes. We're going to go back to all remote meetings.
Why?
The governor released an executive order yesterday that we saw today. I skimmed it, but the note from the town clerk to all of us basically was, until this order expires or rescinded, we are back to remote.
How do you feel about that?
I'm torn. I've been one of the people on the council. I take it seriously with everything with COVID. But I think these Zoom meetings had reached a point where it was really time to try to get back in person. Teachers are back, and my sisters are teachers. I have friends who are teachers. Teachers are going back every day, exposed to all sorts of germs and stuff. So somehow it's okay for a teacher to go back to a classroom full of kids blowing their noses, but we can't go to a meeting twice a month if we're properly socially distanced. So I think that kind of
Whose decision was this?
I don't know. I mean, I just got the email. I don't know whose decision it was.
Because it's an option, right? You can have in-person meetings if you want, as long as you also live stream it, allowing people to participate.
Yeah, but I guess on that, I don't know. So let me speak as ordinance chair. I will tell you as ordinance chair, I am not going to run a meeting in chambers and then do like live Snapchat. Oh, there's Mike Brudzinski 0417 has a comment. Oh, let's read his comment. Oh, he says he hates me. Okay, like I would not run a meeting that way. To me, it's either you're there or you're remote. I would not do a hybrid meeting. Not hybrid. We tried a hybrid. Chairman Cervoni, the first meeting we had. So the after everything closed down, he tried it. We tried it with a teleconference line. Now this was just with the council. It wasn't with the public dialing in, but it was a nightmare. I don't know how he did a great job, but it was a nightmare to get through. So sure, we have the option, but I think that either we're all there or we're all remote, and I would leave it at that.
Let's make that the final word.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for watching the Citizen Mike Show. We had a kind of a spirited debate, but it's going to be ongoing. I mean, this isn't going to end until it's all over. But thanks for watching. You can find the Citizen Mike Show on YouTube. Hey, that's where you're watching it now, but also on WPAA. They're going to broadcast shows on Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 9. And so we used to say a lot, if it's 9 at night, it is Citizen Mike. Thanks for WPA and Susan Alexander for doing that. Good night, Chris. Good night, everybody. See you next week.